Hello, everyone. My name is Matt Aran from Aran Academic Planning. This is another installment in our virtual information session series where I'm joined by mission representatives from schools all across the United States, Canada, and Europe. These schools represent a wide variety of options for you and your family to consider, whether it's liberal arts colleges, public research institutions, uh, men's colleges, women's colleges, religiously affiliated schools, and everything in between. And today I'm joined by Jim Crawley from Hope College. So, Jim, why don't you take it away for us?
Great. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate it. It's good to be here with all of you. And let's learn a little bit about Hope College today. I'll kind of go over a lot of basic information, and hopefully, this will give you some good information to start with. So, Hope College is located in Holland, Michigan. I'll zoom in on the state in just a minute. And I do work with domestic and international students, so I kind of give a little reasons out there why students study in the U.S. But in general, I think these same types of reasons are why students choose colleges, right? They want maybe a new culture, new experience, finding their identity, etc. I think these are all good reasons why students choose the right college for themselves in general, whether they're U.S. or domestic, it doesn't matter. Let's look at more specifically where we are. So Holland is over here on the left, or Michigan's west coast, as we like to say. It is on near Lake Michigan, only about 12 minutes drive from Lake Michigan. We are in a town of about 35,000. We are a campus of 3,400. And it's undergraduate only. I would say that we have arguably one of the most beautiful, most cohesive town and gown relationships between Holland and Hope College. This is a picture of downtown there on the top, and if you were to go out the back side of that building, you would be looking at campus across the street. So it's literally right next to downtown, and it's kind of a hallmark type downtown. It literally is tree lined and beautiful eating areas outside and fireplaces on the corner. And it's just really a very beautiful tourist town located near Lake Michigan, which you see in the bottom photo. We're very close to the beach. Lake Michigan, along that west coast of Michigan, it's the longest stretch of freshwater beach in the world. Our students go out there quite frequently, especially obviously not so much in the winter, but to be honest with you, they do go out in the winter because number one, you can walk on the ice shelf, which is many, many feet deep, and the sunsets are beautiful no matter what time of the year, since we are facing west when you go out there. We are rated one of the happiest cities in America. It is just a beautiful place to be. Um, and again, we're in Michigan's Lower Peninsula over on the west. We're about 3 hours from Chicago, 3 hours from Detroit, driving, or less than an hour flight to either place. Why Hope College? Like, why do students choose Hope College? I think ultimately, when we talk to them, I think these are some of the things that really come out from our current students. They really feel welcome. They really feel part of the community. It's not just that they're coming to school and they're going home on the weekends. We're not a suitcase campus. Students feel like they can come here and they can feel like they want to stay. They want to be active. They want to be leaders. They want to be involved. The faculty are very caring, and that kind of goes down into another one below. But amazing opportunities is another thing they talk about. I mean, 94% of our students do experiential learning. Our students are very involved. They want to be building their resume, and we really feel like that's our job. Our job is to get these students ready to leave. That may sound to the student that sounds strange. To you all counselors, you're saying, yeah, that's your job. Like we want to get them ready for grad school or the job force, whatever they want to do. And sometimes it's a little of both. So amazing opportunities at Hope and beyond Hope. We're building helping them build their resumes, giving them opportunities for leadership, volunteer work, all kinds of things that will be impressive to the future employer, the future grad school. Including, I should mention on the research side, we'll talk about that in a minute, but multiple opportunities, like many of our students do research, even from freshman year on. It's a really important part of the process. The caring professors and individualized attention kind of go together. Our average class size is 14. Our faculty to student ratio is 11 to 1. Or that'd be student to faculty ratio 11 to 1. So students really get to know the faculty. Attendance is expected, if not required, at all in all classes. We have students who will call students if they're not in class, not so much to chide them for not being in class, but but to find, hey, are you okay? Like you normally don't miss class. Is everything okay? Do you need anything? That's a very common thing to happen here. Faculty members know their advisees, they know their students, or they get to know them over the course of the years, of course. Vibrant spiritual life. We are a faith-based institution. We're a Christian college. But we're open to all faiths. Like we have over 25 faiths, 25 churches represented here, as well as students who are atheist and agnostic. We is not part of the admissions process. We don't require chapel. We'll certainly see in a later screen that it is an option for students who want to do it. So those that want to grow their spiritual life, there's certainly an opportunity to do that. Those that would rather not be involved, that's okay too. There's not a pressure to do that. And that's important to me because I do work with a lot of students that have different faiths other than Christian. And so before I took the job, I was like, I wanted to make sure that the students felt comfortable being at Hope College. And they said, yeah, of course, it's a kind of a faith-based institution. You see the chapel, you see kids going to chapel, but they said, like, when we said we didn't want to go to chapel or weren't interested in going to church on Sunday or whatever, no big deal. That's fine. You do what you want to do. I mean, we are invitational by nature. We want you to feel invited to do the things that are important to you. Just to go into depth, a little bit more depth on some of the things I mentioned. This just shows you four like representative pictures of kind of a welcoming committee. So I mentioned the fireplaces on the corner downtown, and that is the fireplace you can see in the upper left photo. That's a fireplace in the background. That is a corner downtown. And yeah, you'll see people just kind of hanging out every once in a while that and they meet their friends that have to be walking downtown. Of course, they don't need the fire in the summertime, but it's definitely lit up during the winter time. And a great place to just stroll, walk, go to coffee shops, all those kind of things. Up in the upper right, that's probably a basketball game, could be a volleyball game, not sure. We do draw a lot of fans to volleyball and basketball. Probably it's basketball. It's a red out game or orange out. Sorry, it's an orange out game where everybody wears the orange t-shirts. And then the bottom left, obviously that's like Michigan, as I mentioned earlier. And then the bottom right is our international night. It's called Images, where our international students do a festival of their different countries with their native dresses. You can tell some entertainment. It's a full night. It sells out every year. Just one of the many activities that happen at Hope College. Local area kind of went into this a little bit, but again, we're 34,000. We are in Holland, Michigan, which is, yes, as you would suspect from the name, is a Dutch town. It was founded by the Dutch Christian Reformed church many, many, many years ago. We're 100. The school itself is 160 years old. Hope is older than that. We are again very much part of the community, and we sit right next to a 4 block downtown area that students walk back and forth within minutes. We do run a weekly bus though out to the discount shopping area. So students that don't have a car, many do, and first year students can have cars. But those that don't, there's a weekly shuttle bus that runs out to Walmart and some of the other stores in the area that are kind of just a short drive away, like a 10-minute drive, so that they can pick up things for their room, things they might need, and then catch the shuttle bus back home. So that goes a couple times a week. I mentioned the caring professors, individualized attention. This shows you three shots of three very, well, a couple similar, but three different things about campus. You've got a computer lab in that upper right, or some form of lab, probably a computer lab, but it could be a science-based lab in the upper left. And then you've got just an interaction between faculty and students on the bottom. And then you've got a African food night that they were celebrating. It could have been around a holiday. It could have just been a celebration of food. And there are faculty and students mixed up in all of these pictures. Our faculty are very active with our students, even in and out of the classroom, which I think is very important. Again, mentioned that 11 to 12% student teacher ratio, depending on the year. I would say we're pretty consistently, it's 11.6 something. So it depends on whether you round up or you round down. Small class sizes, again, it's that close collaboration, the ability to really work closely with faculty. We are typically have $2 million in grants going at any one time for research. You'll see later, and I'll reiterate it because I think it's one of the more important statistics. or rankings. I'm not big on the big rankings, even though we do pretty well, I think. But the smaller rankings that really affect the students, those are the ones that I feel are the most important. And I'll show you later that we're ranked 22 in the nation by US News for undergraduate research. What could be more student focused than undergraduate research? To be ranked that high in the nation, the only school above us is one of our flagship institutions in the state. And other than that, the Ivy League schools, some of the most elite private schools, are also above us. But to be number 22 in the nation is pretty impressive. Speaking of kind of those types of opportunities, this gives you like four different views of things. We have a study abroad trip over half of our students do study abroad of some kind, whether it's a semester, a year, or a May term or a June term, which would be obviously a shorter term. We also have a seed program, which are athletes that go during the summer and teach sports to underprivileged kids in different areas of the world, in four different areas of the world. There's just all kinds of interesting and neat opportunities. This one's in Shanghai. Um, the upper right is a student who is doing a internship at the organization, the World Health Organization. In the bottom is a May term that went to New York to go to the New York Stock Exchange and do some other stuff there too, business related group. And the gentleman in the bottom left next to the woman in red. That is Matt Scogan, who is our current president. At the time, he was on the board of trustees, worked on Wall Street, and he came from Wall Street to be the president of Hope College. So he's an alum of Hope, and you can see his dedication to the college by leaving a very well-paying Wall Street job to come and be president of the college, making much less money than he ever made before. But he is dedicated to the success of this institution. We have a very healthy endowment. We're doing very, very well. And we continue to do well in terms of enrollment too. So a lot of positive things happening here. And I'll tell you one of his other initiatives a little bit later when I talk about scholarship. Bottom right is one of our students who is in our interview space or one of our waiting areas for interviews. So she might have been interviewing for an internship or a job when she graduates, one of those two. But anyway, she's waiting there, and that's the waiting area space to be able to interview for one of those great opportunities. Speaking of opportunities on the academic side, we do have over 50 majors. Our strengths, in my opinion, and based on the amount of students that are in these areas, would be in the STEM areas, which would include ABET accredited engineering with 8 specializations. Business, which includes 3 areas of business administration, accounting, and economics. Psychology, which would also include a major in neuroscience. And then the performing arts. I would put that in there because many of our students, 40 some odd percent, close to 50% almost, participate in some way or another in the fine arts. Like they're, even if it's just taking a class, even if it's just maybe not majoring or minoring, but they're in the orchestra or they're in a dance production or something like that. A large percent of our students do participate in those things because it's important to them. It's been part of their life all the way along, and they want to continue to do it. So we say, keep doing it. Like this is important to you, and it's relaxing. It's the endorphins, whatever it is that gets you moving. Keep doing the performing arts. Just like athletics. If we have students that are in athletics, like whether you're a varsity level athlete or you just enjoy keeping in shape, or you working out, whatever it is, keep doing that, right? That's part of your life. We don't want that to stop. And we were one of the first small private colleges in the nation to be fully accredited in all of the performing arts. As I mentioned earlier, over 90%, close to 94% of our students do experiential learning. So they're doing research, internships, study abroad, or more often than not, a combination of more than one of those. As it says here, 200 to 250. Our maximum is 250. Students get invited to do 6 weeks of paid research each summer. So really across the curriculum, most of it in STEM, but certainly social sciences has its share as well, and other majors are mixed in there. But it's some pretty ample research, and they're paid for 6 weeks of paid research in the summer. So some great opportunities, great way to build the resume. And it's important to know that our research is the students are doing research with faculty, not for them. The difference there is if you do it with a faculty member, your name is typically on it. For us, it's always on it, whether you're presenting or producing a paper. If you're doing research for a faculty member, and certainly in some situations, your name will not be on that research. You're doing it for the faculty member, and they're taking the credit for it. That doesn't happen at Hope. Or if it were ever to be a situation where it was something extensive the faculty was doing and they're asking for some assistance, it would be made very clear to the student that I just need you to do this little part of this research in helping me. But almost all, I would say 95% of the time, the student's name is on it. And again, if it's ever not going to be on it, they're going to know ahead of time before they ever start doing anything. But it's very rare that that happens at Hope. I'm sorry for the small print, but this gives you an idea of all of the programs and some of the student support offices as well that are on there with the Center for Leadership, the Phelps Scholar Program, which is almost like an honors program for multicultural awareness. Just all kinds of different possibilities here for students, majors, and like I said, other types of offices that are could be key to their success while they're at Hope College. I mentioned earlier, we're ranked number 22 by US News. We're only one of 64 schools in that particular ranking. And these are some of the other schools listed here that are also in that ranking. So we're in very good company. And we're very highly ranked for those opportunities. And I would highly encourage any student that's looking and wants to do research, this is the place, one of the places that you could do that. And we like I say we get first year students involved. If they want to do research, we want them to look into it and ask about the opportunities because many are able to do it their first year. At the second bullet point, we are also very proud to be a part of the Colleges That Change Lives. So if you're familiar with that publication, it does recognize 45. It might be 46 now. I think they might have added one. That really provide a foundation for students to be successful later. And I think there's some good descriptions in there about why the schools made this book. But we do have a lot of students that do, and parents and families and counselors who use this book as a resource. And we're very happy to be in the colleges that change lives because we really genuinely feel we do. I mean, all colleges hopefully are changing lives, right? But we feel that we really do go out of our way to make sure the student is well prepared to be successful in their future. And I think one of those things is um, this research that's mentioned above, as well as the study abroad and the internships and the other things we do to really help prepare our students. So they're coming into an interview, whether it's a graduate school or a job interview, where they're really bringing something to the table. It's not just a good GPA. It's not just, oh, I went to Hope College. It's, I went to Hope College, I did this and this and this. And this is how I feel it directly applies to your graduate program or this job because I'm bringing this experience and this is why I'm applying to you. Um, we have excellent facilities. We certainly have a few of our original or older buildings like Graves Hall in the bottom, which is actually the sixth oldest building in Holland. But it's been totally retrofitted in the inside, very modern on the inside, but used more for small group presentations, some offices, that kind of general use, couple of classrooms, but generally it's more for special programs now. But you'll see everything from art and student center, et cetera, all throughout this kind of collage of pictures. Martha Miller Center at the top houses a number of departments, foreign language communication, as well as the Center for Global Engagement. So not only the international student services, but also the study abroad or study away services are there. So students can really start to look at that very early. We even this year have a program where students can go study abroad their first semester. So I believe that program is in Italy. So that's kind of unique for us. And so we're giving it a try this year to see what the students, and they'll go with a faculty member, but they'll study abroad their very first semester. Now, that isn't for every student. That's a specific student that would want to do that. And it's a small group of 10 in the 10 to 15 range. So, of those facilities, I do want to mention. I mentioned the Martha Miller Center, the Fine Arts Center is a beautiful. There's multiple facilities actually for the fine arts, from a theater to a dance to music. They all have their own facilities. We do offer, and I'll mention this again, but up to $3,000 for what's called our Distinguished Artist Awards. We give 10 of them in each fine arts category, fine and performing arts category. They're by audition or by portfolio, depending on what form of fine arts it is or performing arts. But those awards are going to be $3,000, and they can be added to an academic award. Talked about the Martha Miller Center, Campus Ministries, beautiful new facility opened just after COVID, after it kind of came out of COVID. Beautiful facility for any student to go to. But certainly some of the ministry related groups will meet there. But any student can use it. It has a small library in it. It has a beautiful front porch, a wraparound front porch with big rocking chairs. Students will very often be seen there reading, studying, taking a nap, whatever it might be. But it's a really, really nice space. And then the Student and Culture Center is right across the kind of the walkway from that building. And again, student-based center. It's where students go for a lot of activities and event space, and really large, very wall covering, large TVs for maybe showing a movie or showing a sporting event, or we'll stream in when our teams go on to national tournament. We'll stream it there so the students can come in and just plop down on the floor, or we set up chairs or whatever it might be. But a great place to be able to just grab some food and watch the game. And then all of the bookstore and things like that are all in there as well. We are building a new business building. A new business building will open. It will be kind of a gateway to downtown. In other words, it will sit on that block between downtown and the campus. So you'll be able to literally walk through the middle of the building from campus to downtown. And that will actually, I believe our bookstore is moving over there, if I'm not mistaken. But it will be a beautiful new, the steel work is up. It's being constructed as we speak. But that's a new business building that's in the works too. The spiritual life. I want to mention it, obviously, because it's an important part of who we are, and the important part of many of our students' lives. Not all, but I would say the majority in some way or another. So you see the stained glass window, which is kind of it's hidden a little bit on the chapel. This picture down here, it would seem like this might be a major speaker that has come in, and we packed the house for this speaker. This is a chapel service. Chapel is not required, but as you can see, it is very popular. We have 900 plus people that go to chapel from all faiths. It's a non-denominational service. Again, not required, but it's offered 3 times a week for those that want to for just 20 minutes. So 10:30 to 10:50. It's a time for students. If they want to go to chapel, they can. On Sundays, we do offer a Catholic Mass and a non-denominational service as well. Again, totally optional. The only aspect of the spiritual life that is required will be 2 classes that are part of the general education requirements. One of them is a common class that everybody will take, and that's a survey of like all religions. So a 10,000 foot view of religion in general. And then the other one will be just picking one class from the religion category that they can also take. Not a specific one. They all pick which one they want to take. So it's just those 2 classes that are part of the general education requirements. However, if the spiritual life is important to them, lots of opportunities for them to be involved and to do things in Bible study and in to being part. These are student-led chapels, so they could be involved in the music aspect of chapel. They could be involved in the planning. There's all kinds of things they can do if that's what they want, if that's important to them. And we want to, again, help build that if it is important. Athletics are also a big part of Hope. We are a kind of a Division III powerhouse, I would say. We do really well. Our women's volleyball team has gone to national tournament for the last 5 or plus years. Our women's basketball team has also gone to tournament for the last few years. They were national champions right after COVID. The next year, in fact, they were undefeated through leading up until COVID, and then we had kind of an off season there where we only played a few games. And then they didn't lose a game. They were like 56-1 for about 3 seasons. So I mean, they're very, very good. The men went to national tournament again. So you see a lot of different fields there. Some of these are inset photos, as you can kind of see, but the soccer, the football, the soccer, the tennis, that's all or lacrosse. I think that's set up for soccer, but and the tennis indoor outdoor is all right there. And then off in the distance here, you've got another field. So they're kind of lining up across the middle of the screen. And the campus sits here in the top of the screen. So you're about a 15-minute walk from the football field from campus. It's not, depending on where you are on campus, but not far at all. These are all of the varsity sports. In addition to these sports, we do have club teams in ice hockey as well. And the men's team is doing exceptionally well. They've won the national club level championship, ACHA, championship, and now they bumped up from Division Three ACHA to Division One ACHA, and they're hopefully in a year going to move to NCAA Division Three. So these are all kind of bumps up for them in terms of competitiveness, but they're doing extremely well. Uh, Again, lots of strong programs. I highly recommend that whether you're a counselor advising students or if you're a student watching this, the earlier you can contact us, the better. I recommend if the student is a timed athlete, so swimming, diving, track and field, cross country, those kind of things, or even a ranking-based one like golf or tennis, that those are easier for us to evaluate whether you might be a fit for our program. Much more challenging to evaluate. The team sports certainly is possible, obviously, but it just takes more information. So filling out the questionnaire on our website and then also making sure we have video links to see not only highlights, but highlights of the student. I mean, of also not highlights of playing, but also highlights of training. And even showing how they recover when it's not such a great move. So, we want to see everything about the student as much as possible. And then certainly coach to coach contact for a really exceptional athlete can facilitate that process as well. Just a little bit about the inside. So this is our field house, a beautiful basketball field house. And this happens to be, yeah, these are both basketball, I think men's and women's. Can't see quite that small, but anyway, basketball on both pictures there. And then this is the soccer stadium, or as the rest of the world calls it, football. And then some practice fields up and above. And then we do have an indoor facility for, racquetball, volleyball, intramurals, swimming, those kind of things in another facility with many, as it says, 19 intramural sports offered throughout the school year. So there's always something going on that students can get involved in with a bunch of their friends. This is a picture of that facility with the swimming pool and the multi-purpose court with the raised track going around the edge of these multiple courts. Living options. We do have what you would expect probably that most campuses have. We have everything from a traditional style residence hall, the oldest of which is in the center inset, all the way to small housing units, which you see in the upper right, and everything in between. We do have all male, all female, or co-ed. The co-ed would be co-ed by wing or co-ed by floor. No situations where it's a male suite, then a female suite, then a male suite. It's going to be by floor or by wing. And the small housing units would be primarily third and fourth year students, probably more fourth than third, but a mixture of third and fourth could be in the small housing units. We do require at least 3 years on campus. Many students might choose to live a fourth year just because we're a tourist town. So it can be a little expensive to live off campus, to find housing, and then to obviously have transportation too, to be able to get back and forth unless you can find something close enough. This gives you an idea of next year's cost, 27, 28. It has not, that's cost, I need to stress this is an estimate. Costs do not come out until October, November. So this is an estimate. I'm usually pretty close. I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm usually pretty close, but again, it won't come out till October, November, end of October, beginning of November. So I'm estimating tuition to be about 47, room and food to be about 14,000. That is for a full meal plan, what we call an unlimited plan. So literally they can go in and out many times as they want to. So there is a little bit of a reduced plan available it goes down to 14 or 15 meals. But they would have to kind of, make that judgment as to whether it's worth giving up those meals for really a relatively small reduction in the total cost. For those that need health insurance, most don't, but some of my international students do. But we put an estimate in there for that. So if you take that out, if it's a U.S. student not needing that, and you leave maybe 1,000 in there for books, so 2,500, take it off, about 62,000 approximately without health insurance. And then the bottom would be, again, depending on whether visa for the international student, but transportation and personal expenses if they're coming from outside the area. For transportation, personal expenses, obviously everybody has those, and will just depend. Jobs are available on campus. We have more jobs than we have students that want jobs, so that's not a problem with them finding a job. Will it be their ideal job the first year? Probably not, but possible. And then they could certainly move into that type of job that is more aligned with what they want to do as they go on through the 4 years at Hope. Let's talk about some important stuff here. Not that everything isn't important, but this is the financial side, right? We talked about the cost. Now, what about the scholarships? So I want to talk about the big one first. And when I mentioned earlier about our president, Matt Scogan, this is one of his initiatives, which is called Hope Forward. Hope Forward is a full tuition initiative. It is a competition. It is not, however, an academic competition. It's a competition where you have to be admitted to Hope College, and then you have to also apply to Hope Forward with the Hope Forward application and a specific essay response, all by December 15th. I tend to tell students December 1st, just because I want to make sure that everything is the way it's supposed to be before the 15th. But technically, the deadline is the 15th. It is non-negotiable. 15th at midnight, the door will close. And so they have to have been admitted and have been offered, I'm sorry, then applied for Hope Forward and submitted the essay response. It is a very specific essay question with it's got a 3 bullet points within the question, and the student has to answer all 3 aspects or all 3 bullet points within their essay. And it says that very clearly on the website. You can go to Hope College and then go to Hope Forward. You can find it from the admissions page. And that's where that question will sit, because Hope Forward has its own page too. But if you want to know what kind of the application looks like or that question looks like, you go through the admissions page and go to Hope Forward. And then what happens is in January, we decide of all those applicants, how many will get an interview? Well, who will get the interview? We know how many. We're going to give 200 interviews. So 200 students will be notified in January that they are given an interview. We typically have about 800 to 900 applications. So about a quarter, more or less, will get an interview, quarter to a fifth, depending on the total number. And then those interviews happen in February. We do encourage any domestic students to, or especially within the Midwest anyway, to come in for the interview. They're not required. They could do it virtually. And then, of course, anybody that's further away or international, they certainly can do it virtually. But anybody that can fly in, we encourage them to. I think they have a little bit of an advantage by being in front of the committee, in my opinion, because the committee really can, it's sometimes easier to feed off of each other as you're asking questions and answers and see expressions a little bit better. But again, um, the interviews, even if they're virtual or if they're in person or virtual, they're both recorded. So not only will the 2 interviewers be reviewing it that did the interview, but then a third person will also, 2 more, sorry, there's 2 more. 2 more people will actually review the tape as well as the recording. Probably won't be a tape, but we'll review the recording and we'll also evaluate that interview. And then in March, we will award Hope Forward to, right now it's 30, a cohort of 30 students, with 5 to 6 of those being international, the rest being domestic. So of the 200, about 30 will, at least at the current time. The cohorts could change year to year, but they've been 30 for couple of years now. We did just graduate our second class of Hope Forward. Now, the concept between Hope Forward is that students will sign a covenant or a promise to give back to the program annually after they graduate. There's no set amount of money. They're not required to pay it back. They give what they're able to and want to give in any given year. There's no penalty. It's not legally binding. We're just asking them to do that. And this will allow students to other students to have the same opportunity. They go through it as a cohort. So they're going to do a lot of activities as a cohort. We estimate that about 10 hours a month that they'll be involved in something to do with Hope Forward. International student scholarships are up to 35,000, and US-based scholarships can go anywhere from 6,000 up to 24,000 for really good students. So they do vary based on the GPA. Test score, SAT is not required, but a good score could enhance their scholarship level for the U.S. student. It'd have to be, at the higher level on both for that to kind of have to be an enhancement, I suppose. And then with the FAFSA, that's where the need-based aid comes in. Distinguished Artist Awards, I mentioned earlier, $3,000. That can be added to either one of these merit-based awards for international or domestic. If a student gets Hope Forward, they cannot get other awards. The tuition is the maximum merit-based award that they can get. they could still get they could get potentially need-based aid on top of that if their need was high enough. But they wouldn't be able to, they would give up any other scholarship that they've already received from Hope if they get Hope Forward. Um, Hopefully that kind of explained that, but it's also on the website too. This is the basic information. We do accept the Common App or the online or our own online application. I like our online application better than the Common App, but I certainly understand why people use or why students use the Common App. Within either application, there's obviously some personal statements or some essay questions. They're short answer, they're not long diatribes. But on our online app, it's more related directly to Hope College, obviously, and the Common App is more general questions. School report if they're Common App, obviously an official secondary school transcript, university transcript if they're transferring, or if they're a dual enrollment student, we would need a transcript from the university if they want to have that credit be considered for transfer if they're dual enrollment. Even though it shows up in the high school transcript, we would need an official transcript if they want it to be considered for potential advanced credit. Um, and then for international students, the English proficiency, SAT and recommendation letters are optional. And then I should say optional for admission. For Hope Forward, we will ask for one recommender's name as part of Hope Forward. We will not ask for the letter, however, until if they move forward for an interview. Then we ask for that letter from that recommender. And then obviously international have the financial support that they have to provide. It's a very holistic approach. We read all of our applications. We read all the parts we want to find. We're really looking for that good match, like we're academically and what the student is looking for. And we want to really try to help the student discover whether Hope College is a viable option for them or not. Now, even though they've applied, it doesn't mean they may be all that serious about Hope potentially. And we want to help them narrow that down because some students do, as you know, apply to a lot of schools. Again, we do give college credit for the IB, AP, or A level or dual enrollment. And then I mentioned the scholarship and cost at a previous screen. This is just a couple of websites that you can go to learn more information. Obviously, the hope.edu is our general site, and you can go all over that site. Then there's a tour, an online tour, and then a virtual tour. And then also, I would recommend, although I don't have it up here, going to our YouTube channel. There are a ton of videos about all aspects of Canvas where you can learn more about Hope as well. But I appreciate your time. I appreciate you allowing me to come in and present. And Matt, do you have any kind of questions that you might have that we can kind of wrap this up with?
Yeah, so the main one I had was about Hope Forward, but you gave a lot of great information and context around that. But when I have liberal arts colleges on the call or whatever, virtual or in person, that's all undergraduate, right? One of the first things I ask is, what are your relationships with other schools in terms of those classic kind of professional pathways, whether it's medicine, law, engineering is
Uh,
always one that kind of comes up. Are there any specific schools that y'all partner with? For example, like engineering, like a
yeah.
3-2 or a 3-3. Are
Yeah.
there articulation agreements within other
Yeah.
schools in Michigan, or are they kind of spread out throughout the country?
Sure. So we don't need engineering because we offer the 4 year in engineering,
Right.
the 4 year Bachelor of Science in Engineering. So, and it's ABET accredited, but that's a great example of that type of an arrangement.
Hmm.
We don't have any specific agreements with med schools, law schools, vet schools. We do have a very high placement rate, however. We're
Yeah.
about 20, we're close to 24, 25% higher than the national average getting into med school. So we have a very strong percentage of students of the accepted rate for med school and law school. Many of them interview on our campus because they recognize the strength of Hope College, the strength of the education. You kind of talked about liberal arts, and I think that's changed over the years as to what that means. Certainly, a liberal arts school tends to be small private schools. I think some larger universities, and there's schools for everybody, right? Large, medium, and small. Some of the large universities are trying to capture that experience by way of like an honors college, giving that
Hmm.
small. And that's, again, I think liberal arts has moved away from the curriculum which it might have been back in the day, to more, and it really should be liberal arts and sciences because sciences has always been
Yeah.
part of the liberal arts. But nevertheless, I think it's more of an experiential thing than it is an academic thing.
More of a
Liberal arts
community-based learning.
is it's that experience of working with faculty, being prepared to move on, the developing the communication skills, the people relation skills, all of
Hmm.
which, by the way, are things that med schools and law schools are really looking for. We have English majors going to law school. We have English majors going to med school. Now, granted, if you have something that's a non-traditional major going to a professional school, but med school is a great example. If you had a non-science major going to med school, they're also going to still have to have that science background, even if they majored in something else, because you have to have the right preparation to pass the MCAT exam.
Yeah.
But we do have kids in all types of majors going on to professional school. And that liberal arts, kind of the experience at Hope College and developing those communication, people relation skills are one of the factors that's allowing them to get into some of these programs because they're able to express themselves, they're able to deal with people, and they're able to really articulate why. Why Hope College? Like, this is why I went to Hope. This is what I got out of Hope. And this is what I'm bringing to the table. And this is why I want to do research for your graduate program, or this is why I want to go to your graduate program. And they're really able to articulate that much better than I am doing right now.
Yeah. And then one, I guess, somewhat of a related question. So you mentioned kind of the holistic nature of the application review. And so I was wondering for those students that are not sure what they want to study in college, what does that process look like when they're applying? Do they have a ranked
Yeah.
list preferences? Do y'all uh, admit by major? How does that work when you're looking at someone who may indicate interest in a biology or a psych or history, or is it more just about how are they going to be a fit to our campus academically and personally?
Yeah. That's a key thing. What you just said, Matt, is it's the fit. Although certainly us looking at factors, let's say a student is kind of borderline admission, maybe they're a 3.3 and they want to be an engineer, but they have very little math background. That's
Hmm.
going to be a tough admit for us, even though the
Yeah.
student doesn't necessarily know exactly what they want to do. If they've made it very clear in their application and their essay that they really want to go into engineering, but they don't have the right amount of math and physics, they're
Yeah.
going to take longer than 4 years to go if they're admitted. And our
Hmm.
financial aid, as with most schools, financial aid is good for 4 years. So
Yeah.
that student's going to struggle to be able to complete that program financially and or on time, both. And we don't want to put a student in that situation necessarily where they're going to struggle. So we're going to probably have a conversation with that student before we would, especially if they're otherwise admissible. That's when that being able to read the application and really talk to the student about, well, what brings up this interest in engineering? Is it because dad's an engineer or you've just
Yeah.
always wanted to do it? And those kind of things. Can you pick up some classes in the summer before you get here? Still being a freshman, obviously, if they just take a class, it's not going to affect their standing. But is there something you can do senior year dual enrollment? I don't know. Things that we might recommend that if the student really wants to do this, that will help them become more prepared for doing it. For us, nursing is the only secondary admission program. So all of the programs student can just get into.
Yeah.
But nursing, well, I should take that back. Engineering you can get into, but you do take a weeding out course during your freshman year. So we want to make sure students are ready and understand what engineering is about. Sometimes
Yeah.
they don't have the exact real idea of what it means to be an engineer. So in the first year, we do have them take a engineering 101 that will really lay it all out. Say, this is what engineering is about. And so if this is not what you want, now's the time to be able to change and have it not affect your ability to graduate in 4 years. Nursing, however, is a secondary admission program. There's only so many spots per year. I believe we're at 35 spots, 40 spots per year. Um, and I would say not quite double that apply for it, but there's another half again probably that don't get in. They
Hmm.
can apply again the next semester because we will admit some more during the middle of the year too. But typically, students are going to apply at the end of their first year to try to start the program in their second year. Um, and so that would be one where they do complete the prerequisites, they compete to get into the program or to be selected for the program, and then our think the important thing there is that we're our advisors are working closely with our students to say, okay, let's make sure that you have a backup plan. First of all, it goes really back to the recruitment process of making sure students understand that this is a secondary admission program, so that they're not coming into it thinking, oh, I'm in the nursing program. I'm admitted. They're really a pre-nursing program, pre-nursing student when they start at Hope, and then they have to be admitted to the program. But make sure they understand that aspect. And then once they're here, really their advisor talking to them, okay, what if you don't get into nursing school? Is this a situation where you would be transferring out, which we, of course, don't want? Or is it a situation of you have other options? Like, would you be interested in physician's assistant? Would you be interested in pre-physical therapy? Would you be interested in pre-occupational therapy? What are some other things that you might want to do if nursing is not your only option? But we
Mhm.
really try to make sure on the front end that if students are really going, nursing is my only option, okay, you just need to make sure you understand that this is secondary admission. So, but that's the only program where that's the case. The rest of them students can move right into the major and start taking classes. Oops, sorry.
Okay, sounds good. So, thanks again, Jim, for joining us. As we saw on the screen, there's ways to connect with you and the rest of your staff. So, I'll
Yeah.
just stop there. And so, on behalf of Jim and myself, thank you for joining us.
Great. Thank you so much, Matt. Appreciate it.